mouth is when I'm ocean waves.
Well, today on Nova Legends podcast, I have Herndon High School coach Nick Arzani, whose Hornets are one game away from going to the state tournament. And I believe this is, Coach, your first year ever coaching high school soccer. Coach, thanks for doing this and congratulations.
Well, no, thank you for the invitation. This is a tea, okay? We drink mate in Argentina, but first of all, I'm very happy for the invitation. I really enjoy what you're doing. I mean, this reminds me when we were growing up, and we had these local newspapers that used to mention a lot what was going on in the soccer world of youth soccer back then, and it was everything for us. And making, being part of the cover or having an interview, which probably only the local people read, but it was for us was the biggest thing. So anything that I feel that promotes this culture, I think it's great. So, especially in a positive manner like you're doing yourself.
Well, thanks, Coach. I appreciate that, and I appreciate all the things coaches like yourself do. I know, especially high school coaching is not a very lucrative thing, so a lot of what you do is for love of the game and for the kids. Hey, Coach, in Argentina, do the kids play for their high schools as well as their club, or how does that work in Argentina?
Well, it's a good question. So we the sense of belonging in the passion that we have is more for our local clubs, right? Which is usually resonates with the high school thing here. But it's the club what we play for. That's where we have that kind of passion. That's something that we could compare to the high school landscape here.
Is Argentina like in Europe where there are so many coaches? I think like in Holland, I think 5 or 6% of the population are UEFA coaches, licensed coaches. Is Argentina the same way? That obviously you got great soccer players. You just won the World Cup. Lionel Messi's from Argentina. But is it a soccer culture where there are many coaches everywhere and everyone likes to coach the game as well as play?
Yeah, well, it's a thriving soccer culture, right? I think there were 3 topics growing up that you couldn't talk on the table. One was religion, politics, and soccer, right? Because we had all the different views. We're very passionate. I lost my dad when I was 12, so I spent most of my youth in the club. It was more like a big social element, where if you're not watching it, you're playing it, and what will take the problems away was the game itself, right? It was playing soccer. So, I just took a 2008 group, 30 kids to Argentina last month, and they were from here, from the Herndon area, and they were very impressed and to see how a game on the weekend, a result of a game of the weekend dictates the humor of the rest of the week for everybody, right? Yeah. And especially after winning the World Cup, you can imagine that since '86 we didn't win a World Cup, and it was big, right? It was huge. So
yeah, it was great for Messi to get that monkey off his back. As a I guess some people have accused him of playing harder for his adopted country, Spain and Barcelona, as he did for Argentina.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say? Criticism, right?
Exactly.
I've been with him for 2 years. When I had the opportunity to work with the Argentina national team, and nobody dies for the jersey as much as he does. He's the most serious person. He's the most focused. He's the first one to be there, the last one to leave. The guy he had this as his main goal, and he got it. That's why we all celebrate. I mean, when in the Copa America here, we played in Seattle, Boston, Chicago, New Jersey, and it's funny because most of the countries we were playing against, they will have a Messi shirt, even though it was a foreign home country. So what he created, this should be an excellent role model for kids. It's unbelievable. He's very marketable, and hopefully, I hope he didn't reach his goal yet. One of the things that Bruce Lee said, I'm reading his book, his daughter's book, it's called "Be Water, My Friend," and she said that her dad didn't want to be called a master because he felt that once he become a master, he had nothing. He reached the summit. There was nothing else he could dream for, right? So hopefully he will still have the hunger and keep progressing.
Yeah, maybe this takes the pressure off a little bit, and it can become fun instead of you have to do things because you've done so well, and just the stakes go higher and higher. And I went to Robinson High School in Fairfax, and our colors are blue and gold. And so one day I bought a Boca Juniors shirt because it's blue and gold, and I was walking somewhere, and I guess someone was was he a Newell's or what's the River Plate? He was a River Plate fan, and he said, that's Boca Juniors. I'm like, look, it's blue and gold. I like the colors. I
Yeah, the
think
colors. That's one of the things I had to educate the players too when we went to Argentina. Don't wear the wrong colors in the wrong place.
yeah.
So that's big over there.
Same thing as home. So Coach, when did you come to America to live?
Well, I came in 2001. I was 20 years old. Obviously, I came because I wanted to play. I was I tried out for Metro Stars and now the Red Bulls, and then I ended up playing in one of the Hispanic leagues here. I got myself into coaching without really knowing what I was doing. It was very difficult back then to find information. So I started, working with some small clubs in the Burke area, and I opened up my own academy, and then little by little, I start working in Herndon youth soccer. Then I become a technical director, and now I'm coaching the high school. I'm the director of coaching in VDA, and I'm doing what I love. This is my vocation. This is what I enjoy doing.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? So my son started playing soccer in 2009. I played football and basketball. I knew nothing about soccer, but he started playing, and I tried to get him into some clinics at Golden Boot just to get better. And it's just amazing all the resources and the training and things that have come into soccer over the last 13, 14 years compared to where we started in 2009. Soccer and club soccer is in a very different place now than it was then.
Oh, definitely. And we're finally sticking to a curriculum because we start with the Dutch, and then we went to the German, which is the Dutch, and then now with the French. And so I think little by little, we're starting to find our own identity. We're learning from each other now. I think the influence of all these different coaches with different methodologies, with different backgrounds, we're finally adapting to this community, this country, sorry, and I think little by little, the United States is becoming, a powerhouse, right? And I think it's just going to keep growing from now.
Yeah.
MLS is right now. I mean, and I say this with all due respect. Before coming to MLS was like you're going down in your career. Now, they want to play in the MLS. I mean, Atlanta United, DC United. There's the clubs have been growing tremendously in the past year. So, I mean, it's the place to come now, right? So.
Yeah, if they don't be careful, the NWSL, I think the San Diego Surf, they're getting 30,000 people per game. I mean, there's lots of interest in pro and domestic pro soccer now, so it's a very exciting time. Now, Coach, I know you coached the Argentinos at Herndon, and I knew that because my son played at Barca, and then he ended up going to Alexandria. But they were an age group older than my son, but they were a very well-known team. And you guys won a lot of titles, and it was a very nice team. Does Argentina have their own style? Like, for example, Brazil is known for the attacking outside backs, and I think that was one of the things and also just the flair of the Brazilian players. Does Argentina have its own style, and is that part of your coaching?
That's a really good question. And within Argentina, there's many styles, right? There's you mentioned Boca Juniors and River Plate. Boca Juniors, for example, they say the stadium is the Lion Coliseum, right? If they will value players that go tackle hard. They play a second ball, and Catenaccio but then in the River Plate Stadium, which is more considered the amphitheater, like is ball possession, is the beautiful style of play. If you kick the ball out of the field to clear it, people will probably whistle, right? They'll probably boo. So even within Argentina, there's different cultures, different styles of play. Going back, I think even in the past World Cups, they've been you come from Isabela used to play a certain style in 2014. In 2018, Sampaoli changed it, and now I think in Scaloni and Ayala, who came to Herndon many times to do clinics, they adapted to every rival they play. It was the only country that adapted to the rivals they were playing. and that's what really makes it interesting because I think out of the 4 finalists of the World Cups, they all come from different styles.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I was always against is like, okay, this is the style that you need to win, or this is the Barcelona style, and then the Atletico Madrid is not good, or the Gingen pressing from Klopp. And I think everybody within their style, if they could sell it, they could really oil it, they could do good, and they could be able to, they could become successful. You know?
Have your thoughts about the game changed a lot over time? I mean, you mentioned the progression of soccer, or maybe not the progression, just the evolution of soccer. It went from Barca tiki-taka when my son was playing, and then, as you said before, Germany won the World Cups. Now it's more direct, a little more athletic. The French, more athletic midfielders. We see these things in the pro game. Have you changed as a coach over the years, or are you basically the same coach?
I believe you adapt. And the thing is, I believe we're a little bit artisans of this, right? We try to get materials from different parts, and you adapt. And I don't want to get too much into the club versus high school, but this squad that I have now, which have a lot of, they only have one senior, and most of the team is sophomore and freshman. They're kids that came from the Herndon program that I started 15 years ago with U4s. So we went through the process. Okay, let's start by developing this love affair between the player and the ball. And once we got that, okay, let's make them the most technical players they could be, and let's create this adaptability, these well-rounded technical players that could adapt to different styles. And now, right, they have this tactical understanding of the game that they could adjust. I mean, I think they went through phases. In the high school, it's a little bit difficult because within that time constraint, it's really difficult. I mean, as much as I enjoy possession, I mean, again, if you ask me, Guardiola versus Atletico Madrid, obviously, I will enjoy the possession-based game to watch. Now, I'm not saying that Atletico Madrid is not good. I mean, I think Cholo Simeone is doing a great job there. But I'm saying is, what I enjoy watching is probably, that ball possession game, and that's what I'm trying to install. Now in the high school, it's a little bit difficult because you don't have, those players year round. You get them for 2 months, and the time constraint could be a little bit difficult to implement the cultural style of play that you like. But
Exactly.
again, you adapt. So.
Exactly. As I always tease Coach Bo Mata of Langley, he's adopted the Route One culture of his home country. Gets the ball just right to the goal, and sometimes you just don't have, as you were saying yourself, it's hard to get the team on song to play a particular style that you want. And you just have to be a little bit more practical. Well, why did you
I love Boamato. I think Boamato has a way of convincing their players to play every ball like it's the last one, like nobody else has.
Exactly. It's not always pretty, but he gets it done.
I know. I know.
Yeah. So why did you, after all these years, decide to coach high school?
Well, like I said, it was when I was giving you a little bit the time frame and how we started with the program. I feel right now we're in the phase where we're trying to help the players achieve their goals, right, at the highest level right now. I mean, what they consider the highest level. So a lot of those kids are one step away from going to college and playing. Some of those kids I have still in VDA and the club, and what I'm trying to do is Herndon has, I don't know if it makes a difference from a lot of high schools in this area, but it has such a diverse community.
Yeah.
And with kids from all different backgrounds, and it makes it really attractive to work, and learn from them and be able to help. When we started, I put together this amazing staff that we have of coaches, and we were finding out there were kids that were failing classes that, and we said, okay, what can we do? And that's the first thing was like, okay, let's take over the high school team. I did also some personal growth too. I mean, you will notice, you see me that you've been in the club landscape too, and you know that the sense of belonging, like I was saying, the club unfortunately you don't get it out of the club, right? They really want to play for the high school there. So obviously I did as a personal growth thing. I wanted to learn a little bit and see if I could give back, to this community.
Yeah. Well, so when my son,
my goal was to help them accomplish their goals. That was the number one thing,
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. Well, when my son he was a technical player, midfielder. He wasn't like a robust ball winner, And so we were told the high school ball is kickball. Don't worry about it. Don't play high school. So we weren't really going to play. And we were finally convinced the sophomore year to play. It was by far the best experience he's ever had for college because for soccer, because once the kids are in high school, they're driving themselves to the game sometimes. There's nobody in the stands anymore. So as good as the soccer is, nobody cares on the club team except for them. So it's great. The soccer is great. But, when you play for your school, it's a different thing. I was there at the game when you guys beat McLean. Great game. Big matchup. Gage had been talking trash on social media. Your players were involved. Well, when Atu Basson made that goal and took his shirt off, that was one of the most amazing experiences that you can experience as a spectator, and I'm sure probably as a coach. Those are the kind of things you have a hard time getting in the club. That kind of emotion.
I agree. Yes, I know it's difficult. I also realized the mindset component that high school has on players, because I could give you a couple of weeks ago we had our 4 ECNL players couldn't play. I think we were playing Yorktown. So I went to the JV players and I asked 4 of them if they were okay playing in varsity, and they all turned it down. And I get top players. They're 18 players, if you want to call it, from their club teams. Now I realized that I know if I were to take those players to go play for VDA, they will probably say yes, because they know that the pressure is different. They make a mistake there, probably the parents don't understand. But high school has a different pressure component, right? And yeah, no, it was going back to that game. It was a good game, and obviously having the younger kids of the club being ball boys and seeing that and experiencing that, and they were asking for the players for pictures afterwards. It turned out to be a good event. Coach Lehnen, who used to be I used to had the opportunity to coach when he was younger. Then he went to play in Japan, and he's an excellent coach. I think he did a great job with that team. I think their striker is the top striker of the conference. He has 2 really good center mids that were controlling the tempo of the game. They probably were one of the teams that better quality soccer played this year. So I was expecting a good game against them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it turned out to be successful with a nice finale there with a little celebration. The good thing is I can't control what happens in social media. Obviously, I think players need to be educated in how to control social media, because I think they get a little bit out of, they lose it a little bit, and I don't like it. I think that's something that we need to spend a little more time educating. But then with all the respect afterward the game, when they were shaking hands and everything, I enjoy that. I enjoy that more,
Yeah. Well, how did you feel about Atu taking his shirt off? Now, to me, it was an amazing moment. You're a goal down. It looks like you're going into overtime. I'm sorry, a man down, and it looks like you're going into overtime, and it's going to be, it's going to be a stressful time being a man down. And so the goal came out of kind of nowhere, and so it was an amazing moment. And when he took the shirt off, that even added to the excitement. That was like an iconic moment. As a coach, obviously it's a yellow card. As a coach, how did you feel about it? What did you say to the player?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't enjoy those things very much. I like, even though I know it's a moment of high, he's very exciting. He's very excited at the moment. That's the first thing comes to his head to do. But I like to, I like players to keep their composure, in and out the field. I mean, that was something he did to basically, I feel like, to share with the fans that came and watch him play, and it was a great moment and all that. But I'm working really hard to these underdogs to stay underdogs, right? Because I think once they become top dogs, that's when the problem is, right? I think what made them successful so far is the humility of playing every match with the seriousness and the commitment that it requires, and not doing that kind of stuff. But again, as a player, sometimes your emotions are really high, your temperament. So I think I saw things worse happen, in situations like this. So the good thing, there was no red card. Actually, there was a red card there in that game, right? It was a red card
earlier.
Earlier, it was a red card.
Yeah,
it was a double yellow. It wasn't like a retaliation.
Yeah, it wasn't straight red.
So one of the goals was to win the to control our emotions towards the towards especially when you're working with kids that are a lot younger than the rivals.
Yeah. Well, coach, there was a legendary Virginia high school like coach named Bill Littlepage, and he won. I think he won 700 games, and he recently passed from Hopewell, Virginia. And he would sit on the bench the whole game, never got up. He was just kind of sit there with his face in his hand and let the players play. I noticed you on the bench. You sat on the bench and you were cool the whole game. You stood up sometimes. You talked to players, but most of the time at the high school level, the coach is up and he's very engaged. I don't want to say joysticking the players, but because you don't have as much time with the players, and all the players are different technical levels and tactical levels, you see the high school coach more involved in each play. But that is not your style. You sit down and let the players handle things. Did I analyze that correctly?
I'm a very demanding coach. I have a reputation for being that, but the high school atmosphere is already, it's pretty. We had 700 and something people that attended, and I think it's very important for them to be able to stay as focused and be and trying to avoid all type of distractions. I don't believe in joystick coaching. I do believe that players should be able. Too many directions during a game could cause distractions, and players need to be creative. And with all that plus the environment, it could be a little bit stressful for them. And again, I feel the players are playing above the limitations. When you play, for example, I think Bo has 16 seniors or something like that, and they've been through this process, a couple of years, so they understand it. With the younger players, you have no idea how they're going to react, so you have to do a lot of, I feel, preparation for them to somehow understand or try to make them understand what they're going to be facing. Yeah. So that's why my staff that I have, they've been unbelievable. Andres Milok, Luke, Jamer, who just got a contract to play in Bolivia pro, so he left.
Awesome.
But yeah, and I'm missing Nate Butler, who also did a great job with the boys.
Yeah. Well, coach, have you learned about coaching high school during the season? I mean, so certain things that you've learned that surprised you and you've been able to adjust, or is it coaching soccer is pretty much the same as coaching one of your club games?
No. Obviously, you learn. This is like I said, especially the mental aspect of the game. That's the having players learn how to deal with pressures and emotions and stuff like that. I think it's more about that. Kids playing for their school, for their for the logo, for all that it's a big thing. Something that we failed to accomplish in club. I mean, my goal in club is to create that passion from crate to grave, and have them be lifelong fans and stuff. But obviously high school is different.
Yeah.
Gives you that different component.
Yeah. So coach, you coach club, and some of your kids, them, and I think they're involved in your club program as well. At Yorktown, our coach, Coach Carlos, he's a fantastic coach.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I learned so much from just watching him coach my son's team, but he has no involvement at all with Arlington. Most of the kids play on the Arlington travel program, and some of the kids play McLean. But there's almost no interchange. And I think there was always a little bit of tension because the Arlington club, they may like different players than Coach Carlos likes, and it's his team, and he does measure the kids' work, how much they're playing outside of high school, but he coaches his own team, and it's okay. Do you think it's a better situation to have a coach that's involved with both the club and also the high school careers of the players?
Well, I think one of our goals is to create the perfect environment for players to reach their maximal potential, and in order to do that, the player has to be focused on what they're doing. Sometimes when you don't work with their club coach, it could be detrimental for both, because you end up overtraining, getting injuries. There could be a lot of stuff, and sometimes the players will be playing with their mind somewhere else, right? So like I said, I had games where I didn't have some of the top players because they were playing with their they had their ECNL game, they had ECNL commitments, and I told them, like, whatever you decide is, as long as you're 100% involved in what you're doing at the moment, I'm good with. But the good thing is like at least the coaches I've been working with from the clubs have always been very good about letting let the players understand like, okay, this is a practice session. You could go and play for your and for your high school, because we know it means a lot, and I will give the players away if I know that they have an important commitment in the weekend. Like for example, I think I have 4 of my players they're going to be on the showcase for VDA for ECNL this weekend in Richmond. So there's going to be, I'm sure they're going to have a day of rest, and then they're going to go and play. So when it comes to adopting a physical periodization plan and making sure that we work on injury prevention, the communication has to be open for those clubs. So, and sometimes you'll get some coaches that are not going to be contributive, but most of the time you do. So that, we're all for the same purpose. We're here to develop the players. We want the best for them. This is their experience. High school is their experience, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, Coach, has there been some players that surprised you and that they've thrived in high school that maybe they didn't play as well in club because maybe the club game was more technical, maybe their game is a little bit more direct? Have you had players that have?
I gotta say, yes. That's the first thing I turn around and told my assistant coaches. I know, like I said, some of my players since they're 4 or 5 years old. And I saw players playing above their physical, technical limitations, going to every ball like it was the last one, and stuff. That things that, okay, at the beginning you get a little frustrated. It's like, you had this all this time in you, So again, it opens up a lot of ideas for you to be able to implement in your club too, right? You have something to compare with.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about your team. So I saw you play once. You have 2 bruising physical center backs, good players. You have a phenomenal striker. I think one of the best players I saw all year, Atu Basong. But you have creative players throughout the pitch. I thought your team was very even, very strong. How would you describe your team?
I describe them as underdog enthusiastic players.
Yeah.
When I took over this job, we knew, again, things get measured by the amount of seniors you have and stuff, and we knew we only have 2. One we lost based on grades, and we knew that, like I said, within time constraint was going to be very difficult to really develop a team. So we had to rely a lot on fitness and trying to create a positive mindset, and I hope that game that last Friday didn't get into their heads for what's coming up next, right? They get into this limelight for the first time now. People, and I've been listening to some of your podcasts, and Herndon has never been in the mix of the big teams of the area. So I was enjoying that, right? So now people are coming out now expecting, okay, where is this team? Let's see how they play now, right? So hopefully we could keep the humbleness that took us here, and we still have that desire and hunger for what's coming up next.
Yeah. So again, as I told you, my son played for Coach Carlos last year at Yorktown, and Herndon was interesting because we beat them 2-0, but Chandler felt they were one of the best teams he played all year. They lost a lot of games. They had good size. They had speed on the wings. One of the guys' mother or father had been a tremendous athlete in here. I can't think of his name, but he graduated. But the team was really good, but they lost so many games. Are you surprised how you've been able to go from the bottom of the table to winning the district and also winning?
I'm going to be honest with you. I've been Herndon High School fan for years, if you want, even though I never had a chance to really watch many games based on my other jobs, but the Herndon the club job. But I really didn't really follow them. I'm going to be honest with you. I will come in like the games versus Salt Lakes or some important game, but I really couldn't measure that. I couldn't use that as measurable. I only could go what people say, and I don't believe it unless I see it. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry I can't help you with that. I know there was 6 players or 7 that graduated last year, and they were a little bit worried in how we were going to do this year.
Yeah, you graduated a lot of players, good players, and the team had struggled even though you graduated. A lot
of the Argentinos. Most of those kids were playing they were from that Argentinos 2002 team.
Yeah, it was a really good side. So it was surprising. Very, very physical team. Now tonight you have a huge match against Madison. Madison lost games early but they played really well over the last few months. One of the best teams in the area over the last few months for sure, a couple months for sure. What are some, thinking about the game tonight, what are some of the keys to victory for Herndon?
I think finals are fine. It doesn't. I don't. I don't like when players they go by the stats and I get it, stats and facts and all that. But to me, finals are fine. I saw it so many times. Let me use an example: Argentina, Brazil. I saw the probably one of the worst Argentina national teams of all time beating the best Brazilian in the other way around too. I mean, it's and in high school, I think that gets even over dimension. Right? You don't know what could happen. I saw that McLean, who in my opinion was one of the best teams that played.
Yes.
With all the respect with the other teams, but they lost in Salt Lake, which is always based on the history. And again, I'm learning as I'm coaching now. I mean, the history. I'm saying I'm using facts to explain that. Yeah. But the outcomes of the game today, it's going to depend on a lot of things, right? So. Yeah. I just hope it's going to be a great event. People could enjoy it. The players, because again, this is their experience. We're ephemeral. We come in, we go out, and there'll be another coach in a couple of years in. But I'm sure we're going to remain in their minds and their posters or their social media for years. And as a generational team,
Yeah. Well, what you're talking about, I did not see the Oakland game, but Oakland did not have a good record, and they did well in the district tournament to qualify for region. And then I think I noticed they did score the first goal the other night. So I guess that's probably what you're talking about. Here's a team on paper you probably should handle pretty easy, but it was definitely a challenging match.
It was. We end up with 9 freshmen in the field, which is it was a stretch of it for them from their comfort zone, but I think it was a great game. I think those kids are getting, because again, we're trying to also lead to something in the future. I mean, next year and the year afterwards, I think these guys are going to become sophomores and junior, and I think they're already going to have the experience that my players are receiving for the first time now when they're about to graduate. So. I think we're trying to build towards something bigger coming up. Yeah. So I think there was a lot of people like, oh, coach, what are you doing? Why are you playing? And again, I want these kids to experience it. This their experience, like I keep saying. So,
so they weren't on the field because of injury. You went with a different lineup as a way to get kids experience.
Yeah. We started a certain way, and then we end up playing all the kids in, and for them it was playing in front of 700 people, being freshmen. It was a big stretch over the comfort zone, like I said. But they enjoyed it. They were just happy they played, and the game got really close at one point, and people got a little bit nervous, and I think it was a good outcome,
Yeah. So the way these things work, Coach, is as someone who's followed, I played basketball at Robinson. My sister team won a state championship too. My teams were never that good, but as the season goes on, the crowds get bigger and bigger because people in the school hear about it, but other schools nearby, when their kids get eliminated, their kids start coming to the game. So as the process goes, the tension builds and the crowds get bigger. So it's going to get more and more fun, more and more pressure. Would you advise other successful club coaches like yourself to get into high school coaching as well?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think it's not only for personal growth, but I think it's a great way of connecting the community with the club too. So, like I said, in the celebration of the district final, we had all the younger kids that that they really enjoy the environment, and I'm sure they're going to grow up wanting to be part of it. Yeah. So they're going to be looking forward. The parents are seeing that too. So I think we should connect a little bit more with it, with high school. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Coach, there was a moment after the Herndon McLean game. You may not have seen this, but there was as the McLean players were leaving on the bus, there was like rows of Herndon fans that lined up in the direction the McLean players were walking. They're kind of jeered them. Good nature. It was fun, but it reminded me of an atmosphere that you would see over in Europe, like when the team leaves on the bus. And it was actually kind of cool to see that kind of passion, for high school soccer. And it was basically good nature, even though the McLean players are giving it right back. But look, Coach, I want to thank you for doing this. It's great to hear your views. I've admired you from afar. And I've known of your record for a long time and actually seen you coach. So I'm glad hope more coaches like yourself get involved. Coaches like Coach Carlos, Coach Bo, very successful, knowledgeable guys from around the world. They bring that knowledge and that experience to our kids and to our high schools. I think it's just amazing.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. It was it was great to chat with you. And please continue doing what you're doing. You are making a lot of I'll say students, families happy. Sometimes it's very difficult to find information on what's going on, and and I can see the players quickly going to your site and seeing how things are going. They enjoy seeing them, seeing a little mention of them there, and I think it's we all, when I said before, we're all trying to create this positive environment. I think this is a stream that to me is very important that we should use. So thank you very much, Julian, and hopefully we'll see each other soon.
Yeah, Coach, maybe one day I'll come up to you and shake your hand in person. I'll be at some of these games, and I just want to wish you the best of luck. I love your team. I love watching that striker Basong. He's amazing. He's going to do some great things, and I know you want to keep him humble, but I look forward to following him and the rest of the boys as they progress.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay,
Julian.
Coach. Good luck tonight.
Bye-bye.
Take care.